Hi everyone, welcome to another one of my LinkedIn live events. We started a little bit early today, and that is why I'm a little bit unsure how many of you have actually showed up. Before we officially begin, I'm going to first check if my audio and video is fine, and then I'm going to give you a little bit of context of how our live events usually go. If you're someone who's attending the live event for the very first time, what tends to happen is that I explain a topic in depth, and then you get to ask me as many questions as you want. And how do you ask a question? You either DM me on LinkedIn, or you can just type down your question from wherever you're watching. And if you're someone who's watching this live event on YouTube later on as a recording, feel free to put down any of your questions on the YouTube comment section, or you can always reach out to me on my DMs on LinkedIn or WhatsApp. Okay, we're going to see first if it is visible or not. Okay, I think I am live. Unable to exactly see. Okay, I'm going to assume I am because I'm unable to actually see it on LinkedIn. So, today's topic is going to be on how do you ask powerful questions in a coaching session. So, if you are an aspiring coach or you're a new coach, something you must know is that in a coaching session, what essentially you do as a coach is ask questions. As a coach, you don't actually guide people. As a coach, you're not superior to your client. As a coach, you're not someone who's going to give life advices to your client. None of that. A lot of people have this misconception that just because you are a coach, you are supposed to know everything about the client's life, or you are supposed to have every answer that the client comes to you with. Right? That is not possible. Right? You're not Google. Neither do you have the biography of your client, and honestly that is not why people actually hired you as a coach. Your job as a coach is to help your clients get their own answers through the skill of coaching. And what is the skill of coaching? It is asking great questions. But what is the difference between a question or and a powerful question? That is what we're going to look at today. But it is very, very important to first understand that coaching is 90% just asking questions, so that your client can actually go through their own inner transformation and come to answers on their own. It is not your job to serve answers on the platter to your clients. That is not what your clients are actually looking for. If they needed advices, if they needed some guidance or whatever, something like that, they can just go on Google for that, right? What your client actually needs is their ability to believe in themselves that they can solve their problems. That's the most powerful thing you offer as a coach, which is belief in your clients. And developing that belief involves asking them questions. And that is why you can never replace coaching as a skill with anything else. Like, for example, it's a very funny question I got a few months back when I was doing one of these live events inside my free community called the Empowered Coach. If you are, by the way, not in it, it's a free WhatsApp community I have wherein I write on how to build a one person coaching business every single day. So someone asked me that, Priyanshi, can I be a coach? Because I have so much, life experience, and I just want to, guide people and stuff like that. So I told them the same thing, that your intention is great, that you want to help people, but please do not come from a place that you can guide people somewhere, right? You are not bigger than anyone. You are not superior to your clients. You are not somehow more special. And even if you think that you are, let's say, bigger in age or anything of that sort, it doesn't actually mean that you can guide anyone, to be honest. Forget even your clients. So you are not supposed to be a guide, you are not supposed to be a teacher, you're not supposed to be a philosopher, none of that. As a coach, as a professional coach, if you're someone, I hope that you have undergone training, or you're actually planning to undergo training. If you're an aspiring coach, your job is to ask questions. Your job is to be a facilitator in your client's journey, right? So please do not have this misconception that I need to be someone special, or I need to achieve something, or I need to do something special to actually have a coaching session or to become a coach. Coaching is a skill, right? You don't put that skill on a pedestal, or coaching as a profession, you don't put it on a pedestal thinking that I have not done enough, or I need to do something enough, or that I am so special, so I'm going to give answers to people. right? You're not a baba, you're not a pandit, none of that. So if you are a trained coach, all you need to focus on is asking great questions. Or if you are an aspiring coach, the one thing that you need to develop and that you will develop inside a great coach training program is the ability to ask questions. For example, what I do inside LCTM, which is my own life coach training and monetization program, is that every single coaching model that I've discussed with my clients, at the end of the model, I've discussed at least 15 to 20 questions related to that particular model that my students can ask their clients when they're deploying that model or when they're actually using that model. What it actually does for my students is that it gives them a perspective how they can mold that particular model into questions that they can ask their clients. So it gives them a very big head start there. Of course, you can use any coaching model in the world, and then at the end of the day, you are supposed to infuse that model with the experiences of your client. But the point is that it still comes down to asking questions. When your client comes to you with a problem, you don't come from a place that, oh my god, how do I solve it, or like what can I say, what can I say in terms of some magic words or some really really motivational quote or anything of that sort that will just change my client's life. That's not going to happen. When it comes to inner transformation, it's a big journey, and that involves helping your client breaking down the limiting beliefs, helping them overcome their own limitations, and believing in themselves and helping them achieve their goals. So it is not going to happen either through one session or through some magic quote or some magic recipe. It is a journey, and it involves you helping your client come to answers on their own and not you feeling that I have to do it for them. That is not why clients actually come to you. Or in fact, if a client may have a misconception like this where they think that okay, you will give them the answers, your job is to clear it out with them. That my job is not to give you some answer on the platter. I'm not superior than you. My job is to help you come to your answers on your own. So, coming back to the point, how do we actually ask powerful questions in a coaching session? So, first, we're going to understand what exactly is a powerful question. What are the parameters that differentiates a question from a powerful question? So, there are three categories, or there are three parameters I actually like to check off when I'm thinking of that this is a powerful question, this is not a powerful question. And the first parameter for this is that a powerful question is a question that you ask at the right time. What do I mean by this? So one of my favorite questions to actually ask a client is tell me more. Every single time I ask this question at the right time, my client always has really, really powerful insight. But let's say that these, three words, tell me more, a phrase, tell me more. Let's say I ask this in the beginning of the session and my client has told me everything, right? And I keep asking this, tell me more, tell me more, tell me more. It will come to a point where my client will feel that I have nothing to tell you. So in that case, what is happening is that I'm asking a really great question. Tell me more is a great question at the wrong time, right? So a powerful question is a question you actually ask at the right time, which means that when you have come to a particular point in your coaching session, right, where you see that your client is, let's say, spiraling in overthinking or spiraling in multiple permutation combination in their head, the more you ask this question, tell me more, the more they're able to see their own thoughts clearly. But if I ask this question at random point of time thinking that tell me more is somehow a really powerful question that I can use as a formula, it's not going to work because there is no formula to ask a powerful question. It depends on where you are in the coaching journey with your client, as well as what is the context going on, which brings me to the second point. A powerful question is something that you ask at the right context. Now, what do I mean by this? So, for example, another thing that I love doing with my clients is helping them, challenge their thinking a little bit. Which means that when my clients come to me with, a lot of negative thoughts, or they come to me with a lot of, problems from here and there, I like to challenge them, right? And how I do that is I ask them challenging questions. But let's say that my client is being vulnerable to me, okay, and they are sharing their story with me, and they're sharing a story where, let's say, they were at the receiving end of something really bad, right? It could be a bad treatment with someone, or maybe there was some sort of abuse involved, whatever. And I start challenging them. That's going to make my client feel unsafe. That's going to make my client feel that I have no idea what I'm doing. And that's going to make my client feel that I'm judging them, or I'm somehow pushing them that no, you can do it, or I'm being a cheap motivational speaker, right? So when we say that, you know you ask a powerful question, what we really mean is that you're also checking the context. A powerful question essentially is what? Is something that helps your client change the way they think. Because when a client changes the way they think, everything changes. Because ultimately your thoughts creates your feelings and your feelings create your actions. So what we are really doing inside a coaching session is thought work, a lot of great thought work. So your client's thoughts are going to change when you're asking a question at the right context, which means that, again, just because you have learned that when I ask a challenging question to my client, it may help them think better, it doesn't mean that it is a formula that you can just use anytime. That, okay, I have heard that Rianshi told me that you can challenge the client, that my client is being vulnerable to me and I don't know what to do, so I'm just going to start challenging the client. That is not how it works. The context matters. It matters what is your client actually talking to you about. How sensitive is the client with the story? How safe does the client feel? How much does the client actually believe in themselves for me to start challenging them? And the third parameter of a powerful question is what energy are you asking the question with? So, a lot of times, what tends to happen is that when you are a coach who is not under a great training program, or you have not trained very well, what can happen is that you can mix your own thoughts and beliefs about the world and about yourself with that of the client. Let's take an example. Okay, I'll give you a real life example. Once I was speaking to someone, and they were talking to me about the concept of infidelity, right, where they were the one who cheated on their partner, right? And if you ask me as an individual, if I keep my coach hat aside as a person and not as a coach, of course I have a lot of strong opinions on the topic of infidelity, right? That is something I strongly oppose. But when I'm sitting with my client needs a coach, right? They're not looking for moral policing, they're not looking for my judgments, they're not looking for my thoughts also, right? They're not looking for my life advice. And that is what differentiates between a professional coach and an amateur untrained coach. An amateur and untrained coach is going to get triggered by what their client is saying, and they're going to mix their own feelings and emotions, and they will start either advising, guiding, or moral policing the client. That is not what a client is coming to you for. The very first thing as a coach you're supposed to do is to have and create a safe space and be objective. So when my client is sitting in front of me and my client is telling me something that is very, very different from what I actually believe in, or very against my belief system, it's going to lead to a shift in my energy. And how strongly am I able to be objective in that moment is going to determine what energy I ask, my client the next question with. For example, let's say if my client is telling me something about, let's say, infidelity itself, right? If I believe that what my client has done is wrong, right? Because again, I am a judgmental person. I am not trained enough to be objective. And I already have made the decision in my head that, okay, this person is wrong or this person should not have done that. The questions I'm going to ask my client is going to be leading questions. Leading questions are questions wherein we are asking questions from an energy where we sort of, where we are leading the client to a particular answer. For example, let's say, uh, again taking the infidelity example, if I ask a question like, do you think that what you did was wrong, right? Or let's say, is it wrong or is it right? It is a leading question, right? Because obviously if you take a step back and look at things from black and white, every individual is going to say that yes, it is wrong. But that is not what a coach does. That is not what you are supposed to do. Your job is to help the client think that what exactly transpired in their brain, in their emotions, in their life, for them to be able to take a decision like that. So when we say that we are asking our client a question from the right energy, what we really mean is that we are being objective. Because the way you are in that moment when a client is expressing themselves or telling you or opening up, right, how objective you can be in that moment is going to determine your energy. And you can't really hide your energy. Your clients can feel whether you are being, if you're being impatient, if you're being judgmental. For example, once a coach asked me that, Dianshi, I tend to feel this anxiety that my clients need to come to insights faster. I feel that, can I just give them an advice, or can I just give them answer on the platter so that they can come to it faster? And when I asked them that, okay, what makes you do that, or what tends to go on in your head, they told me that they feel that if their client does not arrive on an answer fast, they may not hire them, or they may leave the coaching session. And at the deeper level, the anxiety was that the coach was afraid that they may lose a client, and ultimately they may lose money. So you see, your own limiting beliefs, your own fears do play a very big role when you are in the coaching session. Specifically, it affects your presence. So any amount of anxiety that you're feeling in the session, any impatience that you're feeling in the session, it is very, very important to look at it. That why exactly am I feeling this impatience? Why exactly am I feeling this anxiety that my client needs to realize things faster? Because when I do that as a coach, when I expect something from my client, that oh my god, he needs to come to this conclusion faster, what I'm doing is I am, you know, have stopped making it about the client, and I've brought in my own system, and I'm putting that pressure on my client that why can't you just come faster? And it's going to be visible in my energy, it's going to be visible in my expressions, it's going to be visible in the way I talk to my client. And coaching is about a client going through their own journey and you being the facilitator. But if I'm insecure and I'm anxious, I'm going to go and interfere in that journey, and I'm going to try to hurry them along. And this is a very subconscious thing that tends to happen with coaches that they don't pay attention to. And this is something that we actually work on inside LCTM. For example, one thing that tends to happen the most inside LCTM is, so first of all, if you don't know, we have lifetime Friday group coaching calls. And what my students tend to bring inside the Friday calls is that they also tend to bring the questions that they ask their clients and where they're feeling stuck. So they discuss their client case studies with me, they discuss their feelings with me, they discuss what exactly were they feeling during the session. And then they get coached around that. And because they're constantly improving as a coach, because they're constantly taking feedback on their coaching skills, they're growing at a faster rate than any other coaches out there. So it is very important, specifically in the beginning of your journey, to take feedback on your coaching sessions, on your own energy and the kind of questions you're asking to the client. If you don't take feedback, you don't really know what is happening. And that is what tends to happen inside LCTM. My students tend to get that level of support wherein they never ever feel rushed or impatient. They know that whenever they feel stuck, they can always come back to their group coaching call. They can always ask me, and they can always get coached. They can always get coaching around wherever they're feeling stuck. So it is very important to be inside a program where you feel supported. That if I'm feeling stuck with a client, I can discuss the client case study with my mentor in depth, that I can take feedback on my coaching sessions and on my coaching. Now, coming to the second point, which is how do you actually ask a powerful question? So, here again, I'm going to talk about the three very, very important things that I've used in my own journey as a life coach, as well as now as a business coach, and something I also teach inside LCTM. And the very first and the most important thing I've taught to my students is great history taking. See, what tends to happen is that when a client is coming to you, they're coming to you with their own system. And what do I mean when I say system? I mean that they're coming to you with their own model of the world, the way they think, the way they feel, the rules that they have in life, the way they think that how life should really be carried out, or the way they feel about the world and themselves, a lot of things, right? So when a client is coming to you with their system and you have your own system, you have to allow the client system to actually reveal itself to you, so that you can know what question am I supposed to ask and when. And that is why asking powerful questions is not a formula. It is a result of being skilled and having that presence in that moment with a client. So, what do I mean when I say great history taking? So, for example, what I've taught to my students in LCTM is a step by step process on how to conduct a great coaching session, wherein we discuss on how do you actually start a coaching session, wherein we discuss on how to actually initiate a certain type of question, how to take a client deeper, how to debate their beliefs, how to help them come to a particular belief and help them see the fallacy in it, right? So there are different types of coaching models that my students have learned inside LCTM to actually take history in different manners, because every client is going to be different, and that is why every client is going to require different types of questions that you ask. For instance, if a client is quite logical in the way they think, right, and you try to coach them from an emotional perspective or from a place of emotions, they're not going to respond to it. They're going to keep coming back to this particular thought where they may say that, okay, I understand it, but how do I implement it? Right? They will keep coming back to that. Or for example, let's say that your client is someone who is very emotional and passionate by nature, right? And let's say they come to you with the problem of procrastination or the problem of discipline, and you are here telling them that okay, this is the routine you can follow or this is what you can do. They're going to listen to you, sure. They're going to tell you that yeah, I understand it. But they will go back and then they will either text you that I have not implemented anything, or they will feel bad about themselves that oh my god, I'm not doing anything, or they will quit coaching, right? Why? Because you have not actually taken enough history of the client to understand what does your client respond to. You don't know enough about the client to actually ask a question or take a particular coaching approach. So great history taking is about understanding your client's model of the world, which is how do they think and why do they think like that? How do they feel and why do they feel like that? What are the goals that they have that they're coming to you with, and why do they have those goals? Or whatever goals they're pursuing, are they coming from a place of love, or are they coming from a place of fear? And all of this is a result of great history taking. And the more you know about the client, the easier it becomes to ask them questions, because you know the kind of personality that they have. And again, this is something I've taught to my students inside LCTM as to how do you assess a client's personality. How do you check what kind of personality this client has and what kind of coaching they will respond to. For example, uh, in the beginning, when I used to when I used to coach, as in when I started my journey as a life coach, I was used to coaching, usually pretty emotionally pretty emotionally volatile people, I would say, like people who reacted to emotional coaching far more than logical coaching. And then I started working with someone who was in a leadership position, and they were very logical in their approach, in the sense that if when I would use the same coaching approach I would use with other clients of mine, they would not understand it, or they would understand it on a surface level, on a logical sense, but they would not actually understand how to make sense of it, because they simply operated differently, right? Does it mean that I fire my client, or does it mean I become rigid that no, this is what my approach is and you're supposed to follow it? That's not going to work, because your client's model of the world is different. So you also need to be flexible enough as a coach to change your approach. And that is going to happen when you have great history taking abilities as a coach. And how do you do that is you learn it in a step by step manner. And if you are an aspiring coach who wants to learn how to actually coach, and you want a very step by step approach to it, a very structured approach to it, from a place and in a program where you don't feel rushed and when you don't feel hurried, then LCTM is the best place for you to be at. Now, the second point to consider is how much are you listening and how much are you talking? Now, again, what tends to happen to a lot of coaches who have just started out, or who are just very new to coaching, or who do not have enough coaching hours, because again, new to coaching doesn't mean that you have just started. It can also mean that maybe you have been a coach for 3 years but you have hardly had just 4 clients. I've also met people like that. So when you don't have enough coaching experience, what can happen is that you may feel very anxious about that, okay, I just want to give something to my client. Or you may feel anxious about, oh my god, is my coaching session powerful enough or not? Or is my client really getting the result or not? So there could be a lot of self-doubt involved. And as a result of this, you may end up talking a lot and listening a lot less. And when you talk more and you listen less, what is happening is that you are again making it about yourself and not about your client. When we talk less and when we listen more, we get opened up to what is a client really, really like. For instance, one concept that I've discussed in depth inside LCTM with my students is that a client may come to you with a particular goal, but your job as a good coach is to find out the intention behind that goal, to find out the feeling behind that goal. For example, let's say a client comes to you and tells you that, you know what, I'm struggling with procrastination and I don't know why it's happening. I really, really want to achieve my goal and XYZ things. An untrained coach will start talking about procrastination, will start giving them tips, will start telling them, oh, this is what you can do, this is a timetable you can form. A trained coach, right, is someone who will try to figure out what is the reason the client is procrastinating and why is that reason repeating itself. For example, a client keeps telling you that they're procrastinating, but if you really, really take a deeper look at what are their goals and why do they have those goals, you may find that they are pursuing a goal purely because they feel peer pressure to do it, or they are pursuing a goal because their parents expect them to do it, or they are pursuing a goal because they believe that they really need to do it. If they don't do it, they are a failure, and they are coming to you with a surface level problem. But the problem is not procrastination, the problem is goal misalignment. But that is not going to happen if you don't listen more and talk less. So a very good parameter to measure your coaching sessions on is how much are you talking and how much are you listening. A good ratio, I would say, is specifically if you've just taken on a new client, is I would say 20/80 or 30/70. That you're talking about 20 to 30% of the time, and you're allowing the client to talk 80 to 70% of the time. And actually, you don't need to really talk much, because as a coach, your major job is to ask questions. So you really do not need to talk a lot. If you feel that I don't know what questions to ask, then you must get inside a great program where you can actually learn this skill. But please do not go on harping about motivational quotes and theories and philosophies. That is not what a client is coming to you with, so you don't have to actually do that. Now the third and the last parameter is holding space. Now again, one thing I've seen that happens to some coaches is that they become very uncomfortable when there is silence inside a session. They either want to break the silence, or they just want to say something so that their client can answer them, or they find it very very difficult to just be quiet. They start either doubting themselves, they start doubting the client, they will overanalyze the expression on the client's face, they will start overanalyzing their own coaching skills. They're not able to give space to the client. And one thing you need to know is that when a client's world is actually transforming, and how does a client's world transform, right? When you are coaching and when you are doing great coaching, there are literally neurons that are forming inside your client's head, right, inside their brain. New information is getting connected with the existing information. Assimilation of new information is happening with the existing information that exists in the brain. So there are a lot of new neurons that are joining, and that is why when a client goes quiet, it means that they are slowing down to absorb everything that has been going on. It means that your coaching is actually working. And when you break that space, when you don't give them the space, then they're unable to absorb whatever has gone on. They're unable to actually make sense of all the great coaching you've actually done. So holding space is also a really really big part of how your clients actually transform. It is not the endless homework that you give your client, it is not the endless philosophies you harp on about. It is about whether your client is taking space to adjoin all the information that is going on in their head. And holding space also means that you are allowing your client to open up, which means that if your client is someone, let's say, who likes to jump from one thing to another, you are not tagging along with it. You're holding space, you're helping them slow down, you're helping them think about their own thinking. So, holding space is not also just about being quiet, it is also about being very objective and not getting absorbed into what the client is thinking and feeling, but allowing space, helping them slow down so that they can really, really think and they can really, really feel. Oftentimes, clients get so wrapped up in their own problems that they don't have the space to think and feel. And therefore, one of the most transformational things you can do as a coach is to give them that space, a space to slow down, a space so that they can just be themselves and they can think about their own thinking. They can feel completely without rushing from one place to another. Okay. In the next part, I'm going to be talking about my favorite types of powerful questions. I've discussed three here, but then again, inside LCTM, there's a whole and like whole lot of questions that I've discussed with my clients, with my students, because at every coaching model, I have actually taught my students how to conduct a coaching session using that particular coaching model. So I'll just check if we have any questions so far. Okay. So far, we do not have a question about this particular topic. It's about something else. It's about life coaching, actually. So, when I'm doing a live event on a particular topic, I would want you to ask questions according to that topic and not something else. But anyway, coming back to the topic, there are three types of favorite questions I really, really like to ask my clients. The first category is challenging my client's belief system. Now, again, there is a way you do that. So, when you have just onboarded a new client, you can't directly challenge the belief system. Why is that? It is because the client is not acquainted with your coaching style, and you're also not acquainted with how the client actually feels and thinks. How safe do they feel? Because when you are challenging a client, you need to have a sense of how much can you actually push them. Sometimes some people do not really react well to being challenged. There's this quote, right, that the same boiling water that softens a potato hardens the egg. So when it comes to challenging a client's belief system, you need to have a sense of how sensitive are they, how much can actually push them, and what will they respond to. So when I'm challenging my client's belief system, I have enough rapport with them. And how do you form a rapport? Again, great history taking, right? When you have a sense of what your client reacts well to, you are able to challenge them gently so that they can actually start pushing themselves. Sometimes clients may be very rigid. Sometimes clients may feel that what they think is right, and that is what is holding them back. And sometimes a client may find it difficult to come to newer thought processes on their own. And that is why when you challenge it, you force them to look differently, you force them to think differently. And when you do that, they're able to make a hard stop into the spiral of thoughts that they're going into. The second type of question that I really like to ask is combined with a new thought and perspective. So often, when I see that a particular belief of my client is hampering them, is keeping them stuck, I often, offer them a newer thought, a newer belief, a newer perspective along with the question. Now, again, this does not mean that you start lecturing your client or you start telling your client that this is how the right way to live is. Please do not do that. It's extremely unprofessional, and your client is going to feel unsafe when you do this shit. So do not do that. When you are trying to offer a new perspective to your client, when you're trying to offer a new belief to your client, please always make sure that you have done enough coaching there before you do that. Because what tends to happen is that there are stages that your client goes through before accepting a newer thought or belief. If you're having the very first session with a client and your client feels very strongly about a particular issue, and you tell them that, oh, you can also think about it like this, they're not going to respond well to it, because they you have not coached their resistance enough for them to open up to a newer thought or a newer belief. So make sure that you have done enough coaching around the resistance before you offer them a newer thought or a newer belief. Otherwise, the client is just going to close up. The client is going to think that, oh, I could have just read it online. So the difference between, uh, you know, a belief that actually alters a client's way of thinking and a belief that just feels like meaningless advice is how much pre-thought work have you done, how much have you coached the client's resistance, how much have you actually helped your client see the fallacy in the way they think. Because when you are able to do that, your client themselves will ask you that, okay, can you offer me a new thought here then, and they will be open to it. So the openness of the client is really, really important when it comes to asking this type of question. And again, this is a type of question I've explained to people inside LCTM as to how do you really help a client break their resistance? How do you help a client see fallacy in the way they're thinking so that they're open to a newer belief or a newer thought? Now, coming to the last type of question that I love asking is questions that makes my client look within. And these type of questions are questions that have hardly two or three words in it. And they are, and, tell me more, what else? These are the questions you often ask when you want your client to think about their own thinking. And these are one of my favorite questions to ask because they seem so simple, yet they're really, really powerful. It helps the client bring their thoughts into, think of it like, there's a playground between you and the client, and in the playground is where all the beautiful thought work is happening. When you ask these questions, your client is forced to look at their own thinking and thoughts, and they're able to see the fallacy in it, or they're able to see what exactly is happening. Sometimes when a client is really really wrapped up in their thinking, they themselves do not know what are they talking about, or they get so wrapped up in their thoughts they overwhelm themselves. And there, when you ask them more questions, or there when you offer a thought, their overwhelm sort of intensifies. So when a client is overwhelmed, I often like to ask them small questions yet powerful questions, so that they're able to think about their own thinking. Sometimes when you let a client talk enough, they are able to come to their answers on their own, and all they required from you was space. All they required was your silence. Because when you are silent, you are able to give your client the space to also become silent, to also slow down. And that slowing down helps your client comes to helps your client come to a better thought process, so that they can really see what is happening. For instance, a lot of times it has happened to me where my clients have told me that Rianchi, now that I'm listening to myself, it's sounding weird, or that it was making a lot of sense in my head, but when I'm talking to you, I'm starting to see that it's not making sense, and that I have the answer now. And all I did was just ask these simple questions: tell me more, or what else. So a powerful question doesn't always have to be something that has some magic words in it. What really really it depends on is the right context, right time, and what energy are you asking the question with. Now, there are a few rules again I have taught to my students to really ask powerful questions, and something that I follow. And they're just three rules. So I'm going to talk to you about that. The very first rule is ask, never ever assume. Now, as a coach, you have to come from a place that I know nothing. I know absolutely nothing. And that is why one of the very first questions I've taught my students is to always ask your client, what does this mean? For instance, if my client came to me, right? Because I'm a trauma informed coach as well. If a client comes to me and asks me that, let's say they want to be confident, I'm not going to assume what confidence means to them. My first question is going to be, tell me, what does confidence mean to you? I'm going to assume absolutely nothing, because what confidence may mean to me may not mean to my client. For instance, confidence to me means an unapologetic sense of self love, a complete acceptance of yourself. But maybe for my client, confidence could mean that I'm able to speak great in public. So assume absolutely nothing, and always ask your client, what do they really mean? Because what you are thinking or what they are thinking could be completely different. And when you ask, you not only help them see their thinking, you also get an idea of, okay, where is my client really going? For instance, so many times people have come to me and told me that they really want to work on their confidence. And when I ask them questions about, okay, what does confidence mean to them, they have told me about, becoming a better public speaker. They have told me about, I like myself. They have told me about that I will not stammer. And I have had to explain to them that what you're talking about is not actually confidence. What you're talking about is great public speaking skills. What you're talking about is self love. What you're talking about is something else. So when you assume nothing and when you become curious, the more curious you are, the more your client's system is going to reveal itself to you, and the more you will know what question I'm actually supposed to ask. And it'll give you better direction to your coaching sessions. Now, the second thing to always remember is to always get out of your own head or your own system, I would say. For instance, let's say that someone comes to me and asks me that, Danshi, can you help me with procrastination, right? And for me, procrastination means that you're not getting things done on time and you are delaying it. But my client believes that procrastination is, not doing something consistently, right? So if I'm believing my definition of procrastination and my client is coming from a completely different place, there's going to be a clash of thoughts, and my client will actually not respond to my coaching, because my coaching is coming from my own thoughts, right? My own system. Or for example, let's say that I am a firm believer of drawing boundaries. I'm a very firm believer of taking action. But my client is someone who struggles with taking action. And if I am someone who's stuck to my belief system, I will get frustrated with my client that, oh my God, why can't this person take action? But in reality, that is what my client is struggling with. So I need to get out of my own system and I need to actually empathize with my client. I need to really think and feel what they're feeling so that I understand the depth of the problem. What is obvious to me is not going to be obvious to my client. And when I'm stuck to my own system, when I'm stuck to my own way of thinking, I'm going to become rigid. And that is not what you're supposed to be as a coach. As a coach, one of your superpowers is to be flexible. And that's going to develop when you train in a really good training program, as well as when you practice your coaching skills more. Now, the last point that I really want you to remember is that your job is to be a coach, not a guide, not a teacher, not a philosopher, not some sort of a pandit, none of that. Your job is just to be a coach. If your client is coming to you with a problem, they are coming to you so that you can help them think better, not that you're going to give them a platter of answers. No matter who is sitting in front of you, it is a country's president or it is someone who's just a teenager, your job is the same. It is to help them get to point A to point B through the skill of coaching, through the skill of helping them think better and feel better. And that is why it doesn't really matter who is sitting in front of us. And that is why we coach the person, not the problem. When you focus on the problem, it's going to overwhelm you. For example, let's say that you are a coach who has always been in a healthy relationship, and a client comes to you and tells you that they're going through a really bad divorce and there's a lot of toxicity involved. If you focus on the problem, it's going to overwhelm you and you're going to feel, how am I qualified to coach a person like this? And that is a mistake a lot of coaches make. They get overwhelmed, they get scared of their clients' problems. In reality, you're supposed to coach the person, not the problem. The problem could be anything. The gender of the person could be anything. Your job is to coach their brain. That's it. That's all that matters. Not their education background, not their net worth, not how old they are, not the problem they're coming to you with, but your ability to help them think better and feel better. Now, if you're someone who is an aspiring coach and you want to learn how do you actually start your own life coaching business from scratch, I have a free training called a six-figure life coaching business blueprint. That is something I shot a while back and it has received a lot of accolades so far. So if you are interested in that, you can just DM me training and I would be happy to share that with you. And if you would like to work with me as your mentor, as well as a trainer, you can get inside LCTM, which is a life coach training and monetization program, which is where aspiring coaches come and they get trained and they get certified and they actually learn how to monetize their business. And the best part about LCTM is that it is a lifetime program. It is specifically built for corporate professionals who always feel that they don't have enough time to complete their programs, or who always feel rushed, or who are busy, right? They have busy lives. So if you're interested in that, you're very welcome to get inside. And I'm also doing a really interesting masterclass on 24th November, which is on attraction marketing, which is something that I've personally used in my business to scale a business to six figures without sending any DM to anyone and without using any paid marketing tool. So if you're interested in getting inside that masterclass and you want to actually learn how to market like a pro, you're very welcome to join us inside. I'm going to see if we have any questions so far. Okay, so someone has asked, they can't really see the training. So the training is not pinned to my LinkedIn profile. Okay, it is something that I only send to people who actually want it. So you can just DM me or you can comment down training and I would be happy to send you in a DM. Thank you so much for showing up, everyone. We are going to do our next live event probably next week, and it is going to be on the topic how to actually have a deep presence when you are coaching your client, and how to actually understand different types of personality when you're coaching your clients. I've also done this particular session before for my empowered coach community as well, and you can find that particular video on my YouTube. I'll see you guys next week.